In the silent corridors of power, stupidity is not just a flaw, it is a death sentence. The weak can survive if they are cautious, the poor can rise if they are disciplined, but the stupid man, blind to his own flaws, is destined to be used, discarded and forgotten. Machiavelli understood that intelligence was not measured by knowledge alone, but by the ability to read reality without illusion. A prince who surrounds himself with fools, he wrote, will soon become one. And so today we will expose the 6 fatal signs of a stupid man. These are not quirks. They are patterns of behavior that broadcast weakness to predators. They destroy alliances, ruin reputations, and invite betrayal. If you cannot recognize them in others and worse in yourself, you will walk through life as prey among wolves, and the wolves never pity prey, they consume it. The first and most fatal sign of a stupid man is his inability to control his emotions. In the realm of power, nothing reveals weakness faster than uncontrolled reactions. Watch carefully. A wise man absorbs insults in silence, studies betrayal without flinching, and keeps his gaze steady while others expect him to break. But the stupid man cannot endure the weight of silence. He must explode, must cry out, must show the world his inner storm. He thinks his outbursts make him feared, when in truth they make him predictable. His anger signals his weakness. His despair broadcasts his fragility. His joy, when flaunted too loudly, exposes his intentions before the battle has even begun. Every smile, every sigh, every twitch of his face becomes a map for his enemies to study. He becomes a man with no armor, bleeding his vulnerabilities into the open. Consider the difference. The wise man feels emotion but channels it into strategy. He may hate, but he uses that hate to sharpen his patience. He may rage, but he stores that rage like a hidden weapon to be released only when it secures total victory. The stupid man, however, confuses emotion with strength. He thinks a scream equals authority. He believes that tears equal honesty. He mistakes passion for power. And so he becomes the easiest piece on the chessboard, moved not by his own will, but by those who know which buttons to press. A manipulator only needs to offend him to provoke rash decisions. A rival only needs to flatter him to blind his judgment. A cunning man only needs to deny him validation to send him spiraling into self-doubt. In every scenario, his emotions are not his weapons. They are his chains. And the more he reacts, the tighter those chains become. Look at history, and you will see that empires collapse not because of outside force alone, but because of leaders who lost control of themselves. An angry general makes reckless marches. A fearful king flees before the battle is lost. A proud ruler celebrates too early and exposes his vulnerability before the enemy. The stupid man is the same on a smaller scale. He lashes out at insults that should be ignored. He forgives betrayals that should be punished. He loves without caution, hates without strategy, and trusts without calculation. He is a man driven not by principle, not by logic, but by impulse. And impulse is the enemy of power. Those who cannot master themselves will always be mastered by others. So when you see a man constantly apologizing for his outbursts, constantly explaining his passion, constantly excusing his poor decisions with, "I was just emotional," know this: you are looking at a stupid man. And the world of power does not forgive stupidity. It exploits it. The second sign of a stupid man is his compulsive need to always be right. In every discussion, in every debate, he reveals himself, not through intelligence, but through arrogance. He cannot allow another opinion to stand without challenging it. He cannot remain silent while others speak. To him, disagreement is not a difference of perspective. It is a personal attack, a wound to his fragile ego. And so he argues not for strategy, but for validation. He raises his voice, interrupts others, and repeats his point louder instead of sharpening it. He does not debate to learn, he debates to prove. And because of this, he never grows. He never sees beyond his own narrow frame. The stupid man, obsessed with defending his pride, loses opportunities that silence would have preserved. He poisons alliances by needing to win every small battle, even when those victories cost him the war. Watch him in a room full of powerful men. Within moments, he alienates those who could have been allies by insisting that his perspective is the only one worth considering. He argues with mentors instead of learning from them. He contradicts friends to showcase intelligence, but only reveals insecurity. His need to dominate conversation makes him blind to the subtleties that matter most. The facial expressions of others, the silence of those who are calculating, the hidden intentions behind carefully chosen words. While he battles with his tongue, the wise man battles with his mind. While the stupid man wastes energy proving, the wise man gathers intelligence by listening. And so in every confrontation, the stupid man loses, not always immediately, but inevitably. The danger of always thinking you are right is that it makes you deaf. Deaf to warnings, deaf to advice, deaf to reality itself. A man who believes he already knows everything cannot learn. A man who refuses correction cannot evolve. And so the stupid man walks the same path again and again, falling into the same traps, suffering the same betrayals, enduring the same humiliations, yet never admitting that the common denominator is himself. To him, the world is wrong. Everyone else is blind. He alone sees the truth. This arrogance is not strength, it is blindness. And blindness in the realm of power is fatal. History is filled with fools who refused to listen. Generals who ignored their scouts because they believed they already knew the battlefield. Kings who dismissed warnings because they trusted their own judgment above all. Leaders who surrounded themselves with flatterers because they could not bear contradiction. Each of them marched into ruin, not because they lacked resources or soldiers, but because they lacked humility. The stupid man repeats their mistake on a smaller scale. He refuses to consider that he might be wrong. And because of this, he is destroyed not by others, but by his own arrogance. Remember this: the wise man does not need to be right in every conversation. He only needs to be effective in every outcome. He chooses silence over argument, patience over pride, and results over recognition. The stupid man does the opposite. And in doing so, he reveals himself for what he truly is: a man enslaved by his ego, incapable of growth, and destined for defeat. The third sign of a stupid man is his endless hunger for validation. At first glance, he may appear generous, agreeable, even humble, but beneath the surface lies his true weakness. His entire identity depends on the approval of others. He does not act because it is right, he acts because he wants to be liked. He does not speak to convey truth, he speaks to earn applause. In every decision, in every gesture, you can see it, the desperate question written across his face: do you accept me? Do you see me? Do you approve of me? This need makes him weak, malleable, and ultimately forgettable. A man who cannot exist without the praise of others will never command respect. He will only chase it, always out of reach, always controlled by those who give or withhold it at will. To observe him in the company of stronger men. He laughs at jokes that insult him, mistaking compliance for survival. He agrees with opinions he secretly resents, just to remain in the circle. He apologizes excessively, even when no offense was given, thinking that submission will protect him. What he does not see is that every act of self-erasure only makes him more invisible. The powerful do not admire men who beg for approval. They see them as tools, useful perhaps, but never respected. The man who seeks validation becomes a puppet, his strings pulled by the smallest compliment or the coldest glance. His emotions rise and fall according to the approval he receives. A smile makes him loyal. A frown makes him anxious. And with this, he loses the one thing no man should surrender: sovereignty over himself. The wise man knows that validation from others is fleeting. Respect is not given. It is commanded through strength, boundaries, and mastery of self. He does not need to explain himself endlessly, nor does he bend his values to please the majority. He stands firm, and because of that firmness, others follow. The stupid man, however, believes the opposite. He thinks that fitting in is safety, that blending into the crowd will protect him from harm. But invisibility is not protection. It is irrelevance. And in the game of power, irrelevance is death. The tragedy of the validation seeker is that he never becomes memorable. He spends his life trying to be liked by everyone, and so he becomes defined by no one. He is the agreeable face in the crowd, the harmless presence that leaves no mark. His hunger to be accepted robs him of the very dignity that could have earned true respect. He becomes replaceable, common, and ultimately forgotten, And when he is gone, no one mourns him, because he never dared to stand for anything beyond the approval he begged for. In the end, craving validation is not a minor weakness, it is a declaration of servitude. A man who builds his worth on the opinions of others gives them the keys to his soul. And once those keys are handed over, he is no longer a man. He is property. The fourth sign of a stupid man is his compulsion to speak without listening. In his mind, words are proof of intelligence, and silence is a sign of weakness. But this belief betrays him. The more he speaks, the more predictable he becomes. The more he reveals, the less mystery surrounds him, and mystery is the lifeblood of power. In a room full of men, watch how quickly he empties himself. He announces his ambitions, his frustrations, his plans, even his fears. He thinks authenticity will earn trust. He believes openness will win respect. What he does not realize is that every detail he gives becomes ammunition in the hands of others. To the cunning, his words are not communication. They are confessions. The wise man understands the power of silence. He observes before he speaks. He studies expressions, reactions, patterns. He knows that those who talk less learn more. He understands that silence makes others uncomfortable, forcing them to reveal themselves while he remains unreadable. But the stupid man cannot endure silence. He rushes to fill every gap in conversation. He explains too much. He defends himself when no accusation has been made. He brags about victories not yet secured. He complains about struggles he should be solving quietly. In doing so, he exposes his weaknesses, awakens enemies who were once dormant, and hands control of the situation to those who are listening carefully. The man who never listens is blind. He walks into traps because he does not hear the warning in a rival's tone. He offends potential allies because he ignores their counsel. He becomes entertainment for the powerful, an endless source of information, an open book to be read and exploited. His own words betray him more effectively than any spy ever could, and still he does not learn. He believes that speaking more will make him admired, not realizing that the most respected men are often those who speak the least. The strategist knows this. Silence is not emptiness. It is a weapon, a shield, a test. But to the stupid man, silence is unbearable, so he kills himself with noise. This need to always talk robs him of the ability to listen, and without listening he cannot learn. He cannot grow, because growth requires humility. The humility to admit that another man might know more, see more, or understand more. His arrogance deafens him, and his deafness condemns him. He will die ignorant, surrounded by men who have learned everything they need to destroy him, because he told them himself. In the game of power, the loudest man is rarely the strongest. He is the easiest to read, the easiest to predict, the easiest to control. True danger moves in silence. True influence listens more than it speaks. And so, the man who talks but never listens is not just foolish, he is already defeated. The fifth sign of a stupid man is his complete lack of self-awareness. He moves through life blind, not because the world hides the truth from him, but because he refuses to look inward. Every failure in his mind is someone else's fault. When he is rejected, he blames envy. When he is betrayed, he blames injustice. When he is ignored, he blames cruelty. But never, not once, does he pause and ask, what weakness in me allowed this to happen? This question terrifies him, because to face it would require him to confront his own flaws, his own patterns, his own responsibility for the life he has built. And so he remains trapped in the same cycle of defeat, repeating mistakes under the illusion that he is a victim of fate. A man without self-awareness cannot grow. He may work harder, he may move faster, he may even gather influence for a time, but all of it will crumble because the foundation is rotten. You cannot build a fortress if you do not know where the cracks are. You cannot command respect if you are blind to the behaviors that make others despise you. The stupid man refuses this reality. He prefers comfort over truth. He clings to his illusions like a drowning man clings to driftwood, even as those illusions pull him further under. To him, honesty with himself is unbearable because it strips away the excuses that protect his fragile ego. Meanwhile, the wise man treats his failures as lessons. Every wound becomes a map, every loss a teacher. He studies his scars and asks the cold questions: where did I miscalculate? Where was I weak? What mistake of mine allowed this outcome? This brutal honesty turns pain into strategy, transforming defeats into stepping stones. But the stupid man, lacking self-awareness, learns nothing. He feels pain but refuses to study it. He complains loudly but never dissects his suffering. He curses others but never confronts himself. And so while the wise man evolves, the stupid man stagnates. He remains the same, year after year, trapped in patterns he cannot see or refuses to see. The danger of lacking self-awareness is not only personal, it is contagious. Such men infect organizations, families, and nations. They rise to positions of influence, only to destroy everything around them with their blind spots. They create chaos, not because they intend to, but because they cannot see the damage they cause. And when everything collapses, they point fingers outward, never inward. They are perpetual victims in their own narrative, never realizing they are the architects of their own downfall. A man who lacks self-awareness is a man already defeated. He cannot correct what he cannot admit. He cannot strengthen what he cannot identify. He cannot evolve if he insists there is nothing wrong with him. And so he remains trapped, repeating the same story until the end of his days, blaming, complaining, and suffering, yet never transforming. In the realm of power, this blindness is fatal, because the enemy you refuse to see is always the one that kills you. And sometimes that enemy lives in the mirror. The sixth and final sign of a stupid man is his rejection of brutal truths. More than his arrogance, more than his emotional volatility, this single trait guarantees his downfall. For truth is the raw material of power. To understand the world as it is, not as we wish it to be, is the foundation of every strategy, every victory, every survival. Yet the stupid man cannot face truth. He hides from it, covering his ears when reality speaks. He seeks comfort in lies, illusions, and flattering voices that tell him what he wants to hear. He surrounds himself with those who protect his delusions, who feed his pride, who shield him from the harshness of reality. And in doing so, he builds a prison made of soft words and false reassurances, a prison he mistakes for safety, but which in time becomes his tomb. Watch how he reacts when confronted with reality. Tell him that his failure was his fault, and he calls you cruel. Show him that his plans are flawed, and he calls you envious. Reveal to him the truth about his weakness, and he calls you an enemy. He does not want reality. He wants anesthesia. And like any addict, he demands a constant dose of illusions to keep him numb. He cannot bear the thought that his own choices, his own patterns, his own laziness or arrogance have created his misery. So he invents excuses, stories, villains to blame. It was luck. It was betrayal. It was fate. It was anything except him. This refusal to face truth is what keeps him powerless, forever chained to a cycle of mistakes he cannot correct because he cannot admit they exist. The wise man is different. He accepts brutal truths even when they burn. He understands that pain is a teacher, that reality cannot be changed by denial, only by discipline. He does not fear the mirror because he knows that the enemy he sees there must be conquered before he can conquer anything else. But the stupid man trembles at his own reflection. He prefers the fantasy that he is a victim, that the world conspires against him, that destiny has cheated him. This fantasy feels safer than admitting his flaws, but it comes at the highest price: his growth, his respect, his legacy. History does not forgive those who reject reality. Empires crumble when rulers refuse to see the storm at their gates. Armies perish when generals ignore the terrain. Leaders fall when they silence truth-tellers in favor of flatterers. And on a smaller scale, the same law applies. The stupid man loses his fortune, his relationships, his dignity, not because he lacked opportunity, but because he refused to confront truth. He lived in lies, and lies are fragile. The first pressure shatters them, leaving him exposed, unprepared, and ruined. A man who rejects brutal truths is already defeated, because he has chosen illusion over reality, comfort over strength, blindness over sight. He will never rise, never endure, never dominate. He will be consumed by the very lies he clings to, and when his life collapses, he will still blame the world, never realizing that the greatest enemy he faced was his own refusal to see. Stupidity is not ignorance. It is not the absence of knowledge. It is the arrogant refusal to see reality as it is, the reckless surrender to emotion, the endless chase for approval, the compulsive need to argue, the blindness to one's own flaws, and the desperate rejection of truth. These 6 signs do not simply mark weakness. They broadcast it. They signal to predators that here stands a man who can be exploited, manipulated, and discarded without resistance. The stupid man does not fall because of one great mistake. He destroys himself slowly, piece by piece, through 1,000 betrayals of his own potential. His emotions make him predictable. His pride makes him deaf. His need for validation makes him a puppet. His lack of awareness keeps him stagnant, and his rejection of truth ensures he will remain powerless until the end. But there is another path, the path few men dare to walk. It demands silence when others expect reaction. It demands humility to admit failure. It demands discipline to master emotions, courage to embrace brutal truths, and the patience to observe while others destroy themselves through noise. This path is not easy. It strips away comfort, it burns pride, it breaks illusions. But on the other side of this fire, a different man emerges. A man feared not for his volume, but for his silence. A man respected not for his need of approval, but for his self-sufficiency. A man who commands the game, not as prey, but as predator. The choice, as always, belongs to you. Remain blind and weak, or sharpen yourself into something untouchable. This is the Cold Strategist. If you recognize even fragments of these 6 signs within yourself, you stand at a crossroads. One path is easy. It requires nothing but excuses and pride. The other path is brutal. It demands transformation, self-mastery, and ruthless honesty. Most will never make that choice, but those who do become something else entirely. Dangerous, respected, unstoppable. If you refuse to be ruled, subscribe now. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Tell me which of these signs you've witnessed most in others, or perhaps in yourself. Remember, the world does not pity the stupid. It consumes them. But you can choose to rise above.